If you like the sweet science, get ready to talk boxing on the Gloved Fist podcast with top boxing writers Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch. Frank, a former amateur boxer out of Philadelphia, writes for NY Fights and can be seen on the Boxing Channel. Jack, an amateur boxer who competed in the New York Golden Gloves, was a 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association. And now, here's Frank Latirzo and Jack Hirsch.
And we're back. Welcome to Glove Fist. My name is Frank Latirzo, former writer, full-time observer, joined by former 6-term president of the Boxing Writers Association of New Jersey, Jack Smiling Hirsch. Jack, how did it feel watching the playoffs this weekend? We were both observers.
Of New Jersey, I don't know how you get that. I mean,
I'm sorry, of America, Jack. See that?
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey, my buddy Henry Hascup tells me from time to time, you should be a candidate to get into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And you know what I say to Henry, who's the president of the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame? Forget about it. I can't get even into your Hall of Fame. It's New Jersey, you know. I'm not even okay. But so what's the good word, Frank? Let's get your football out of the way, get it out of your system. You could celebrate quickly, gloat.
Well,
go ahead.
I thought the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. They didn't. I lost money. I'm not mad. People in this area, Jack, are going crazy. I'm telling you, if you have to go over the Ben Franklin or Walt Whitman Bridge, be careful because you could be running over Eagle fans who jumped off it. But I will say this, as I said before the show to you guys, the Eagles are a great organization, and that team will look much better next year or this coming year than it did this previous year. And there'll be a case. And the other thing I want to say, Jack, is I don't want Robert Saleh as a coach of the Dolphins. He could not lead your team. I don't want him.
Okay. I mean, you're a Dolphin fan. You're entitled. You know what you're making me think about now? A little thing clicked. I remember talking to Bernard Hopkins a lot of years ago, and he started to complain to me a little bit about Donovan McNabb, the Eagle quarterback. So, it stretches.
Well, he said he didn't think he was a winner, right?
Yeah, he wasn't thrilled.
He said they would never win a championship with him, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember him commenting to me in private about it. But
you know what the root of that is, don't you? Supposedly, Hopkins was in the Eagles locker room after a game and went up to talk to McNabb, and he said McNabb big-timed him, and supposedly that's why he turned on him. Although I was never a McNabb guy anyhow.
Okay, interesting stuff. So what to start with, in a couple of weeks and maybe a week or two, we're going to start having the countdown to Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, but for now it's still a little quiet. But that's going to be the big event, and it's going to be between the NFC and AFC championship games and the Super Bowl. It's going to be on a non-football weekend, so they placed that fight during a really good time, Lopez and Stevenson. And I was thinking to myself, and I even mentioned to you before the show, what should we start off with, Frank? I mean, a couple of fights took place. They really weren't that big on the scale of things. I know you're going to want to talk about Sabriel Matias and Dalton Smith, and we'll talk about that. But I don't really think that's worthy of the headline for the show. But I'd like to kind of detour to a topic that's kind of making the rounds. There's this movie out that I'm kind of anxious to see, and I was always a little fascinated about the relationship between Brendan Ingle and Prince Nassim Hamed. And for those who don't know, Brendan Ingle had Prince Nassim Hamed from the time he was a young kid and developed him into a world champion. And then they split. And it's a he said, she said type thing. And I'm really anxious to kind of see this movie coming out that explores the relationship. But it ended very poorly. It ended very poorly in that the two of them were not talking. And even when Hamed's fighting days were over, according to Hamed, he tried to reach out and he was rejected. But what's interesting, when Brendan Ingle decided he didn't want to work with Prince Nassim Hamed anymore. And we could get into the reasons. Ingel's sons continued to train Hamed. So it wasn't like he left the family. He continued to use the gym. He just didn't have any relationship with Brendan Ingle, who you'd
Right.
think would be like a father figure to him.
Jack, I have to be honest. That was in the mid to late 90s, and I didn't follow Hamed's career. I followed his fighting career. What was going on behind the scenes, I have to admit, I wasn't really tuned into that. The only thing I can say is what I've read recently, and what I've read very recently as of yesterday, Hamed is not happy about the way this has been put together and the way it makes him look. But that doesn't surprise me because I think that's the case with most documentaries.
Well, yeah, and from what I understood, Hamed had been very disrespectful to Brendan Ingle, the way he would talk to him during that time. And Brendan Ingle had a breaking point. And now all of Ingle's old fighters, at least a number of them, have come forward to talk glowingly about Brendan Ingle and kind of putting down Hamed's version of things. But basically, it's a movie to look forward to. Joe Bergman comes up with a good comment, and this is what I guess we should have started with. But I'm tired of fights not being made, or dragging on longer than they should have. We've heard about Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, the negotiations, this and that. I'm tired of hearing about the negotiations, but can I say something, okay?
Can I stop you?
You go, sure.
Go ahead.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. If you put Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn together, you would think
You took
Eddie
my
Hearn
thunder, Jack.
has more credibility than Oscar, because Oscar blabs a lot of nonsense. For once, Oscar, I shouldn't say for once, he made tremendous sense in something he said about Eddie Hearn negotiating for this fight. He says, as a promoter, you can never be 100% locked into only making one match the way Hearn and Boots on to making the Ortiz match. He said, they got no plan B. We've got other options. We could fight Errol Spence. We could fight Sebastian Fundora. Those are big fights for us. We don't necessarily have to fight Boots right now.
Wait a second, Jack. You said Earl Spence. Now, come on. Ortiz cannot fight Earl Spence. They couldn't give that fight away.
They would make the fight. It would draw in Dallas. It would draw at that stadium. I don't want to hear whether it should draw or not. I'm talking about reality.
I can't believe anybody that follows that sport watching this, Jack, would watch that.
People will show up in big numbers. Errol Spence is a Texas fighter. He's a name. If we would watch Keith Thurman, who's fought twice in the last 6 years, I would sooner see Errol Spence than
Jack,
Keith Thurman.
what does he gain by beating up Spence after Crawford mutilated him 2 years ago? Okay, and how many times have we been on this show where you put down a fight and I said, well, it was money, and you said, well, it didn't mean nothing because the guy's no good. So you've said that many a times about different fights. I'm saying it now. That fight, I mean, Oscar can talk about they have that option. That's not really an option. Fundora, that's an option. But you talk about Eddie Hearn and De La Hoya, and you think De La Hoya might be more credible this time. That's a low bar, Jack. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe either one of them.
The Virgil Ortiz beats Errol Spence. The Boots Ennis fight is not going away for Virgil Ortiz. It's not going away. He could beat him. He could fight Fundora. Keith Thurman beats Fundora. He could take that fight. Those fights aren't going away from him. And those opponents are not going to fight Boots. They fight Ortiz sooner than Boots because Boots is more risky to them. He's more scary. And Ortiz is going to bring just as much to the table, if not more, for the Spencers and Fondoras than Boots would at this time. Boots really has no one right now. He's locked into this fight. And from what I see, Oscar's not being totally unreasonable to to ask for Ortiz to get a little more. That's what I love about Lennox Lewis's attitude. He might be a snobbish guy, but I love his attitude. He feels if you want to fight bad enough, be willing to take less, unless the money is so ridiculously less, it's to the point where it's an insult. But you want to know something? During the time Lennox Lewis wanted to fight Riddick Bowe, they were going to lowball Lennox Lewis
and he was going to take it.
A low amount. He was still going to take it. He was still going to take it.
I like the deal I saw, Jack, where they said 50-55% to the winner. And supposedly Eddie Hearn said that.
Hearn's proposition.
Okay.
Eddie Hearn doesn't hold the cards here. Oscar was talking 60-40, 5% to the winner. If you want Boots to be a major star, this is the fight he needs to put him over the top, to become a major star. You need a major win. And this is it for Boots. He has no other alternatives right now, Frank. Tell me who else.
Okay, you say that,
make him a major star.
You say that, and technically you're right. But if I said to you, I can work out a deal that you have either Boots' future or Ortiz's future, who are you taking?
Boots'.
Okay, thank you. You made my point. Oscar can say all he wants. Boots is perceived as the better fighter, and until Ortiz beats him, he doesn't get all the props he thinks he deserves.
No, he is not. No. He's not perceived as the better fighter at this moment. By you,
I'll bet you Boots is at least 7-5 favorite.
Okay, but that's marginal. People don't give a darn. It's a business thing. He could be perceived, but there's doubt. It's a mega fight. It's considered when I say mega fight, it's not Pacquiao Mayweather. Don't get me wrong. On the
which was a joke
right now. It's a mega fight right now, and business-wise, in every way, Boots needs this fight more than Ortiz, because Ortiz can chip away. He could beat Spence. He could beat Fundora. He could see what's next, and let me tell you, and if he does that, it becomes harder for Boots to get anywhere near 50-50 split, because all of a sudden this 60-40 becomes 65-35, then 70-30, and Boots does not have a soft fight.
Jack, I am not going to fight with you about two guys that we can't get in the ring. I am not going to die on that hill. What I will say regarding that is Boots, I think, is the perceived better fighter and has a better future. Until they fight and he loses to Ortiz, I'd rather be in Boots' shoes. But the fact is, we are 12 minutes and 54 seconds in, and we've been talking about a fight that we don't even know if it's going to happen because we can't get them together. I think that is deplorable, and that's why this sport is in this predicament that it's in, that we have to beg these guys who will get paid millions to fight each other. It's not the boxing I grew up with. It's not the boxing you grew up with. And eventually, Jack, it's going to fade away if they don't change it.
But at least it's a credible fight.
Jack, it should be made. You're right.
Both of them would have earned their status of being in a major fight. We agree they both would have earned it. Okay?
Yes.
They didn't get it through any gimmicks like other fighters. They didn't get it through being inactive and then coming back after a couple of years and getting one so-so win and then getting thrust into a big opportunity. They didn't get it because the sanctioning bodies favored them or anything like that. They both earned this status by being real fighters. So I can be a bit more patient with Virgil Ortiz and Boots Ennis. But sooner or later, both guys are going to have to sign for fight. And
you're right.
The time to get upset is going to be if Virgil Ortiz signs to fight Errol Spence. You're going to be mad at him. You should have fought Boots, this or that. And then it's going to be the blame game. And I'm not sure.
I can't get on him if Ennis doesn't sign the fight, Jack, I can't get mad at him. I can't. I have that's out of his control. If Ennis won't fight him,
no. But my feeling is too. I don't think Boots is really in a position to demand 50-50 right now, a split down the middle, because Ortiz has done more in his career than Ennis has done in his. Even though we both agree we like Boots more as a fighter, and he'd probably be marginally favored in the fight if they fought like, let's say, 8-5, not 7-5, for argument's sake. Maybe even 2-1.
I don't think Ortiz has done any more, Jack. I don't think
Boots
so.
has done nothing. Boots has done virtually nothing but show great.
And what has Ortiz done? He fought Madrimov. What else has he done, really?
Madrimov is far ahead of anyone that Boots has fought and beaten.
Jack, we both think Ortiz is the lesser fighter.
More of a name than the guys Boots has fought for the most part.
All right. Well, look, we'll worry about that when they fight, Jack, because this is ridiculous that these guys can't get together, and it's just, again, it's a black mark for the sport. Let me ask. Go ahead. Let me ask you this. Now we were talking about Hamed. Let's talk about Hamed the fighter. What did you think of Hamed the fighter during that run?
Well, I was at Madison Square Garden in 1997 when he fought Kevin Kelly in a thrilling fight, okay?
He went down 3 times.
3 times. The last knockdown, his glove just brushed the canvas. That was kind of, I had to call it a knockdown if you were the referee, Benji Estevez, but I didn't really look at it as being a true knockdown. The other 2 were hard knockdowns. Yeah, he was tremendously flawed, but he could do things that other fighters couldn't do. And I think his most redeeming value was his power. He had tremendous, tremendous power for featherweight.
Jack, what blew me away about Hamed was the fact that, as you said, he had power, but I can't recall many guys who could be off balance and have their feet crossed and not be set and still have power with either hand. He knocked a lot of guys down and stopped them when his feet were tangled up. He was off balance. He was leaning. It's like he had natural power, and and the other thing was, if you think about it, what really makes a guy scary? Well, obviously if he can hit, but a guy that's awkward and punches from crazy angles. Conventional guys don't know where to go with that, and that disrupts them. And that's what Hamed had. He had power in both hands, and he was very awkward, and you looked like you could hit him, and he looked like he was there, but he'd move a little here, move a little there, and he would make you miss and then counter you. And it's like, that's what I think of when I think of Hamed. And I wish him and Pacquiao would have been there at the same time.
If I had to, we never discussed this category, Frank. I mean, we discussed greatest and this and that. If you and I sat down and put our heads together and we had to decide who are the 10 most gifted fighters in boxing history, gifted. I'm not talking about skill necessarily.
I know what you're saying.
You know exactly. Hamed
would be on the list.
10. He would be a top 10. If I said Hamed was arguably the most gifted fight in boxing history, well, Ali would be up there, obviously, with the head movement and this. But I'm thinking of fighters who could do things that no one else could do. Ali could do things no one else could do with his moving his head back. Okay? Hamed would do things that was so
Roy Jones, Whitaker, Ali, Leonard.
Yeah.
But he's in the conversation. There's no doubt about. But Jack, he lost his heart after Barrera beat him up, and he never fought again.
When you want to see how great Hamed was, and I think he's a Hall of Fame in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, and I think justifiably so.
I agree.
He never had a second act. He didn't have the perseverance. He loses a fight, not lopsided, but not lopsided. It was competitive to Barrera, a great fight in his own right, Barrera. And there's no resolve to come back. That ended his career. I mean, he fought again after that, but for all intents and purposes, he was done.
That was it. I mean, and Jack, you know what?
And that has to weigh in on a guy's legacy.
Barrera, in that fight, showed how great he was, the way he changed his style up instead of being an attacker, how he boxed and countered, and he did to Hamed what Hamed did to a lot of his opponents and really flustered him. And I have to admit, I wasn't sure who was going to win that fight, but Barrera's stock in my book really escalated off of that because he clearly won the fight and he took Hamed out of his element, and it was a beautiful thing to watch. And that solidified Barrera, put him on this road to the greatness he had, among the other things he accomplished.
Well, but Barrera showed the blueprint to beat Hamed. You need good timing. Timing offsets what Hamed does.
Yeah, I don't know. You could say that. I don't know how many guys could apply it, but he knew what to do and knew how to apply it. And that's the mark of a great fighter.
Personality left a lot to be desired. It would be mean-spirited at times, the way he would talk to people or other things. And one of the things that bothered Brendan Ingle too, Hamed's brothers were involved in dealing with his finances, and Ingle claimed he was very slow to get paid after fights. He'd have to keep waiting for his money. It was as if it was being done on purpose. But
I saw him fight live once. I think he fought Wayne McCullough on Halloween in 1997 or 98. It was in Atlantic City. I saw it. It went the distance, and I was surprised, but it shows how tough Wayne McCullough was because Hamed hit him and caught him good. He never really had him in much trouble.
Yeah, Hamed won a clear decision, but he had to work hard. And in the last round, McCullough was chasing Hamed around the ring. So rather than give McCullough credit, he's being interviewed, Hamed, saying, well, I beat Wayne easily. Why were you running around the ring frantically in the last round? I mean, come on. I mean, that's like a runner winning a race. He's sprinting all out at the end saying, oh, I won this easily. You know, I mean,
well, I don't expect anything different from Hamed. Jack, also, Joe reminded me that Ryan Garcia and Barrios have signed, and they're going to fight February 21st.
Ryan Garcia might be a good person. Okay, he strikes me as the type of guy who has a good heart, but he's kind of messed up. He doesn't deserve us to even talk to him. I talk about him right now, and I know it's been hypocritical because you talk about Jake Paul, whatever, but at least Jake Paul is true to himself. You know, you complain Garcia, PED use, got suspended. I gave him a pass on the overweight thing, not making weight, because Haney accepted the fight. If it's okay with Haney, you're going to take more money to overlook that. I don't want to hear complain about it afterwards.
But Jack, he's still a draw, though. He's still a draw, and that fight's going to do numbers because of Ryan Garcia.
But he loses badly to Raleigh Romero. Immediate, and Raleigh Romero is not a world-class fighter. He's just an okay fighter, nothing more than that. He loses.
I'll bet you Garcia steps up and beats Barrios.
Now he gets a title shot.
I know.
That's what makes the sport. Boxing is a joke. I'm going to tell you, I went on a debate show years ago with Dr. Paul Semendinger, this network, and the debate was this: which sport has greater tradition, baseball or boxing? He's a big baseball guy. He argued for baseball. I argued for boxing. You want to know something? I switched over now. Baseball has the greatest tradition.
I would have said that.
Because
I would have said that
years ago, I was still hanging on to boxing, but now it's a joke. Before we know it, it's like, what? Garcia's going to be a 7-time world champion. Adrian Broner's a 4-time world champion. I mean, how can I get excited about tradition?
Jack, what is the why is it in the state that it's in? Because I know I'm turned off by it, and it's very hard to follow it and to care about it. What is it? Is it we don't see the fighters enough? And I've said on the show many times, boxing is one of the hardest sports to find. The good guys don't face each other, and then you have the sideshows like Jake Paul. It's like, what is the ailment? Like, what can be fixed about it? If you had the power, what could we say or do to make it better?
Well, Turkey, His Excellency, was fixing it to an extent by making the fights we want to see. Think of the fights he made that if they didn't pay the money, they wouldn't have been made, like Beterbiev Bivol. Chances are he never would have seen that. But I'm going to tell you this.
Once, let alone twice.
The Saudis' money is going to be running dry. I don't mean they're going to be that they won't have the money. They won't want to spend it after a while. Right. Because they're going to see it's not the smartest investment. And Turkey is a big boxing fan. He loves boxing, loves it. So he wants to see the best fights, and the best fights, he's basically been making. Look, Stevenson Lopez is being made, okay? But when that money starts running dry, we're kind of back to the old ways, and what can I say? There's a good fight this weekend. Andy Cruz, Raymond Maratala. That's a good fight as well taking place. Andy Cruz is in the boots and is stable. Olympic gold medalist there from Cuba. Trained by, he's trained by Boots' dad.
That's this weekend, Jack?
This weekend, yeah. That's on the zone. And also,
nobody will see it. Yeah.
Moses Atamo
24th.
is fighting this weekend too with Jermaine Franklin. He's fighting early in the day from the UK, and then the fight I just mentioned, the show is going to be in the evening. So there's some activity. Otama, good young prospect, very good, a fighter to get excited about, but they're going to wait a couple of years for Usyk to get older and be faded before they make their move. Even though he'd be made the mandatory now, Otama doesn't want to go anywhere near Usyk right now because I think, I don't want to say he knows he can't beat him, but he certainly isn't going to feel very confident. Oh, I'll fight Usyk, I'll beat him. I guessed last week, we didn't talk about Price Taylor unbeaten heavyweight. He was giving you a lecture, Frank Laterzo, on how he would beat Usyk, and he was explaining it to you. Did you get his message, Frank? Did you understand what he was saying to you, Price?
He didn't. I didn't get all of it, Jack, to be honest. How he would beat him. Speaking of Usyk, do you think he and Wilder are going to fight? It sounds like Usyk really wants that fight.
It is a joke of a fight. It's a fiasco. Wilder is a completely shot fighter.
Don't we give Usyk a pass, though?
Yes. I'm willing to give him a pass. The fight's a joke, but Usyk has earned the right to have a fiasco of a fight because he's done nothing but fight the best competition available for a while. So give him this. And
Wilder also he hasn't been good lately, but he also he's tried to fight the best. I'll give him that.
He has that. I can give him that he's fought. Look, he fought Zhang and he got knocked out. And Zhang
he lost to Parker.
And Parker beat him it was just about a shutout. He doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't even have a punch anymore.
Well, but they're going to try to sell that as the fight and why it's dangerous. And, a lot of people they say in this sport that the last thing a fighter loses is his punch. And I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's the first thing.
The fight itself is a joke, but I can live with the idea if you told me Wilder's earned his right for one last payday right out into the sunset, because to Wilder's credit, he never ducked anyone. The more I think of it,
no,
he was willing to fight Alexander Povetkin in Russia. And then Povetkin tested positive when he was on the way to Russia. And then he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua in the worst way when Joshua was on top and Wilder was on top. And it was Joshua with Eddie Hearn who ducked that fight 100%. It wasn't Wilder.
I'm going to blame Eddie Hearn there because Joshua showed me he will fight anybody. I don't think he feared Wilder. I think it was Hearn.
If you're a fighter, you can overrule your opponent. You really can. You get to the point the promoter doesn't like it, but you lay the law down. I'm fighting this guy. I don't give a darn. You mean
like Joe Frazier did to fight George Foreman, right?
Yeah, and I saw it firsthand. One of the great managers I've ever been around. I don't know whether you remember Dave Wolf. He managed Boom Boom Mancini and Donnie Lalonde.
And Emil Griffith.
No, that was Gil Clancy. Who handled? No,
Dave Wolf I thought Dave Wolf was involved. Oh, Wolf was with Mancini too.
No, Wolf was even indirectly not involved with smoking Joe Frazier. He was in a
little bit, right?
But no, he handled Donnie Lalonde and Boom Boom Mancini. And the late Johnny Buzz used to say about Dave Wolf, he'll turn mackerel into caviar, something to that effect. But I remember he handled one of the fighters he managed was Lonnie Bradley. Lonnie Bradley,
I remember him.
At the time, held the WBO middleweight title. He was unbeaten, a heck of a prospect, and Bradley was offered a Roy Jones fight. Wolf didn't really want it, but Bradley kind of insisted on it, from what I understood. So Wolf had to kind of like give in to that, and take that particular fight at the time, rather than build it up so the fight would be big and it would be worth more money to them. But a fighter can absolutely insist and make a fight if he wants over his manager, promoter.
He can, Jack. Not many of them do. Not many of them do.
Unless it was back in the day when Don King was the promoter and he had these guys, under his wraps.
They signed a bunch of blank contracts, and then when they went back to look at them.
Unless it was a Muhammad Ali type, they could insist and get whatever they want. But so I don't give Joshua a pass on that.
Jack,
I don't.
A guy who we value his opinion, although you and he are both dead wrong about Ken Norton fighting Ron Lyle. He says that Wilder turned down $100 million from DAZN. I don't remember that, Lyman, but I'm not going to dispute you.
No, that didn't happen, Lyman. That didn't happen. That's ridiculous nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous nonsense, Lyman. Shame on you, Lyman. You're not one of the more knowledgeable guys around. I wouldn't expect you to.
No, he's not. He thinks that Norton would beat Lyle. He has no credibility.
Lyman knows his stuff. I mean,
he does, but how can he be so wrong about that? How can he be so wrong about that?
Wait. I remember Joshua saying, "Yeah, I'll fight Wilder if they give me $50 million." At the time, $50 million was outrageous money. And Wilder comes back to me and says, "Guess what, Anthony? We got the $50 million. Let's sign the contract." And Eddie Hearn was shook up and saying, "Well, I have to study this out." No, he wasn't. He did not turn down $100 million. If Wilder's saying that now, it's utter nonsense. I don't remember him admitting it. Wilder would have jumped at $100 million. Are you kidding me? Wilder never made even remotely close to $100 million in his career.
But he's made about $50 million, Jack.
Not in one
totality.
Fight. Totality.
No, not in one fight.
If you're offered $100 million to fight Anthony Joshua, do you believe for 1 second Wilder's going to turn it down? That is insane.
No, but I think Norton would have turned down $100 million to fight Lyle.
No. Norton fought everybody. Who did Norton duck?
Lyle. The only guy he ducked.
Lyle. He never ducked Lyle. Norton went in with everybody.
He wanted no parts of Lyle, Jack. Everybody knows that except you and Lyman.
Lyle never knocked out a top-of-the-line fighter. And don't tell me Ernie Shavers, who got tired in the 6th round after supposedly knocking out Lyle himself. And he collapsed.
What top-of-the-line fighter did Norton knock out? Did I miss it? Who did Norton knock out top of the line?
Jerry Quarry.
Jerry Quarry, who they pulled off a bar, Jack, when he was a wreck and he had 12 days to train.
Quarry was still good. A lot of people are picking Quarry.
Stop.
Wayne Bobbitt, he destroyed.
Stop. Wayne Bobbitt was elite. Okay. And John Tate knocked him out. Canozzi knocked him out. Come on. Who did Norton knock out that was elite? Nobody.
He chopped up Henry Clark. On the Ali Force undercard.
40-year-old Sonny Liston beat Henry Clark. Come on, Jack. Their careers, their records are almost the same.
Wait a second. Who knocks out Muhammad Ali? I mean, who knocks out Jimmy Young? Those guys and their prime. I mean, Jimmy Young in his prime. And who knocks out Ali? Come on. I mean.
Okay, fine. Lyle didn't knock him out, neither did Norton. Who knocked down Foreman twice? Ron Lyle putting George Foreman down twice and nearly having him out is far more impressive than any showing that Norton ever had.
Well, I mean, in the losing effort, so you're saying the Lyle who lost to Foreman, Lyle was more impressive losing to Foreman than Norton was when he in the first and third fight against Ali.
Norton had a style to give Ali trouble, Jack, and he could go around with him.
When Norton does something well, it's style. So I could say Norton, I mean, Lyle had a style that was conducive to Foreman. But regardless, I don't want to, whatever. Lyman Pauly, let's give him the last word. He says Norton decisions, Lyle. Let's move on.
Okay, Lyman. Well, you can have Jack on your side, but no, you're both wrong. Speaking of fights of that I mean Jack. Today, Smoking Joe would have been 82 years old today. He was born January 12th, 1944 in Beaufort, South Carolina. He died in 2011 on November 7th. And, just the time goes by, doesn't it, Jack? These years fly by.
The second coolest fighter, or second or third coolest fighter in the history of the sport. Number one, we'd have to say Sugar Ray Robinson.
I'll go Robinson one.
Number two, either Smoking Joe or maybe Jack Johnson, because Johnson was kind of cool in those outfits and the stuff he would do. He was pretty and Johnson, during the time he acted that way, wow. I mean, so maybe.
Well,
Johnson,
are you mistaken brazen for coolness? Because what Johnson did was more brazen than I think cool.
Wait, but what about the way Johnson would dress, showing up at the Havana racetrack before fighting Jess Willard with the cane? He
was in the fast cars like Joe. Okay,
yeah.
I'll consider that.
Yeah. I mean, who else was up there who was really cool? I mean, there are not that many of them.
I think Sugar Ray Leonard, as much as he gets on my nerves, I think he's pretty cool too. He follows sports. He was a good tennis player. He speaks well. He dresses well. I mean, he's a little bit manufactured and a little blow dried, but I think he's pretty cool.
Sugar Ray's cool. Hearns wasn't really cool, great guy. Hagler wasn't cool. Hardly any of these guys are cool when you think of it. I mean, it's, hardly anyone. But, it's.
Smoking Joe died. He died young too, Jack, at 67 years old. That's a short life.
Yeah, the problem is too, you don't know how years in the ring affected him, other things. We're never going to know.
Well, he was in a bad car accident. I know he had high blood pressure. I know he liked to party, and I'll leave it at that after he was done his career, after he retired. But I miss guys like him. And I was thinking, because there was a heavyweight that fought this weekend at Jet Cabal. How do you say his name? Cabal?
Oh, yeah, Cabal. Yeah, cute little fighter.
Right. And, Jack, I talked about this. I don't know if we've ever covered it, but there aren't many swarmers today. And I think it's because the guys are bigger. There's not the Marciano, Tyson, Frazier type swarmer, but Cabal fights like a swarmer. He is a constant pressure guy. He goes to the body and he tries to get you out with every punch. And it's like, he won this week, and I think in the third or fourth round against a guy who I never saw fight before. And he wants a title shot. I could see him being a little bit of a problem for Usyk. Take it easy, Lyman, for a while. I don't think he could beat him, but I think he'd be a dangerous opponent. And the fact that he is pressure and he kills the body, not many guys do that today. And he has some nice wins.
He's earned an opportunity. I wouldn't have a problem. He got a title shot, based on merit. He's not a big puncher though, but he could, he could punch somewhat.
He beats you down. He doesn't, he wears you down. He doesn't beat you down. He grinds you down. But boy, he took it to Frank Sanchez and really worked his body over and took his heart after 7 rounds.
Yeah, let him fight.
Which was a big win at that time.
Fabio Wardley, and then the winner, could be an opponent for Usyk. You give the winner a shot at the title against Usyk.
Joe thinks that Benavidez and Benavidez is an attacker. Yeah, Joe, I was talking heavyweights. You're right. There are attackers at the lighter weights. No doubt about that.
Benavidez, I don't look at this being a swarmer. He's just a big, strong, powerful guy who comes forward. Just because he comes forward, it doesn't mean you're a swarmer.
He's a little bit of a boxer, puncher, and a slugger.
No, the greatest swarmer in boxing history.
Joe Frazier.
No.
Who?
The greatest Jack Dempsey was the greatest.
I'll take Frazier over Dempsey any day.
No. Frazier would apply relentless pressure. But
That's a
Frazier,
swarmer, Jack.
yeah, well, oh, just applying pressure, that's all.
That's suffocating pressure with nonstop punching.
No,
Dempsey's in
but
that category.
Dempsey had more foot movement coming in kind of than Frazier.
I think
In other
Frazier
words,
had better head movement. Dempsey had a little bit better feet movement. I'll give you that.
right.
He circled in and out. But Jack, think about this though. Could you imagine? And this is, and I know that some guys, you know, they mention Jack's age, but do you realize a guy like Gene Tunney? I could never see Gene Tunney going 10 or 12 rounds or 15 rounds with Frazier. Frazier would have cut that ring off and came in low, and he would have grind Tunney down in about 7 or 8 rounds. It might have even looked like the Ellis fight, where his movement really befuddled Jack Dempsey. Now, everybody's going to say because he was 32 and he hadn't fought in a couple of years, but he didn't do as good in a rematch. And so I think Frazier is actually the more sophisticated swarmer as far as head movement, cutting off the ring, slipping the jab. But Dempsey's in the conversation as swarmers. But I think, Jack, you could make a case that Henry Armstrong's the best.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I'm an old timer, but I favor the modern fighters in a sense because the modern athletes are greater. I mean,
Good one, Holmes.
I hate saying it, but a Gene Tunney, he wouldn't have had any chance against the Mike Tyson. I mean, some people might say, "Oh, Tunney could keep away, maybe outbox Tyson." I mean, come on, it's a fight.
But wait a second, Jack. Russell and I had this debate about a month ago, and his argument is, and I think there's something to it, where I talked to another buddy of mine, he sees the complete opposite. My one buddy says you take Tunney from 1920 and you bring him to 1980 or 1990. And Russell's argument is, well, if Gene Tunney came up in, say, Frazier's time, he'd be a little bit bigger, he'd be more well-trained, and he'd be a different fighter. I don't know how I look at that. I don't know how you can do that, though. I can only judge him by what we saw.
Well, I saw a seminar on YouTube the other day, and I'm a big fan, or at least I was, of road racing. You know, during the time, Bill Rogers, Frank Shorter, a couple of friends of mine, great marathoners. Shorter won the 72 Olympic gold, 76 silver medal in the marathon. Bill Rogers won the New York City Marathon 4 times and Boston 4 times. And you look at their times, okay, that were like great times then, and compared to what a number of marathoners did after. I mean, even if they were trained better, Bill Rogers' best time was 2:09:27. And the commentator during the seminar says to Bill Rogers, Bill, I bet if your shoelace wasn't untied today, you could have run 2:07. And he said, oh, no, he wouldn't have. Well, you get the top marathoners today. They're winning marathons in 2:04, 5 minutes quicker. So even with all this technology, would Bill Rogers have maybe been a minute quicker? Frank Shorter too? Perhaps.
But that's man against the clock, Jack. That's not man against man. So that's a little harder to gauge. I see what you're saying. The time doesn't lie, but man against man is different than the man against clock. And Jesse
Owens, am I going to tell you, Jesse Owens would have beaten Usain Bolt? I mean, come on. Would you have, you would have easily thought Usain Bolt's going to smoke him. And Jesse Owens
That's why you can't compare ours, Jack. But the other thing is, look at Secretariat. His Belmont time, nobody's got within 2 seconds of it in 50 years.
But I'm being a bit of a hypocrite here, because I'm going to tell you why. You take Dialli, who fought Liston in 64. No one touches him. He beats Usyk. He beats all the heavyweights out there at his weight that he weighed then. No one beats him.
Well, Usyk kind of proved that because he fights like him, and he proved he could beat a 260-pound guy.
And the Smoking Joe Frazier, who beat Ali in the fight of the century, I don't care how much bigger Tyson Fury is than him. Make it a 15-round fight. He gets to Fury by the later rounds. And we're talking about a 1960s fighter who transitioned into the early 70s. And so I can understand the argument, but it's not never a comfortable thing to try to figure
Jack,
out.
you have to compare athletes in their era. I say to this day that John Elway is the greatest quarterback in history. And the reason why I say that is I know he could play under the rules of today, but I also believe he could have played back in the time with Otto Graham and Unitas and Bart Starr. I don't believe Peyton Manning or Tom Brady could have played in the 70s under their rules. I think Elway's one of the guys, and why I think he's the best is you could drop him in any era, and I think he would be great. But you can't do that, so you have to go by who was the best during their era. So you can't
You mean because
compare
of you mean because Elway would be able to take the physical pounding?
Elway was a physical beast, super strong. He was a great runner. He had a cannon for an arm. And once he got his sea legs, he was a smart quarterback also. So so it's like, could Ali go back to 1910 and fight in Johnson's era? I mean, I kind of think he could. How would Johnson do if he came up to this era?
Customato used to talk about that. And Customato passed away in what was it, 85,
85.
86. So that was the modern athletes when the 70s and 80s. And he always used to say the modern athletes are better than the old timers, but we don't know how the modern guys would have reacted back in the day because the old timers were different type of men. They might take the type of punishment that the guys later just couldn't endure. The type of pain and that these guys, that's why you kind of wonder these long fights scheduled for 40 rounds.
But they didn't throw a lot of punches in those rounds, Jack.
A lot of it was wrestling.
A lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that Joe said real quick. He said something about Tua, Joe. I'm not sure what you mean, but Tua was a swarmer, but he didn't have, he wasn't good at cutting the ring off, and he wasn't great at slipping the jab, and he was lazy. But I'll tell you what, if you tell me the Tua who fought Ibeabuchi was fighting Joe Frazier from March 8th, or Marciano of the Walcott fight, or Dempsey of the Willard fight, or any version of Tyson, I could make a case that Tua may beat those guys head to head, but Tua wouldn't win a round against Muhammad Ali because he would be outboxed. He couldn't even track down Chris Bird.
Yeah, I mean, Tua was devastating the way he knocked out John Ruiz. I'm thinking what was other big wins. I remember him as really a devastating puncher. He was
Darrell Wilson he knocked out in the first round. The Moskaev he took apart. He knocked out Rockman. He knocked out 4 heavyweight champs, Jack, and only got 1 title shot. Now it was to his bad luck that he had to fight Lennox Lewis, who was in his prime at the time. But think about it. Michael Moore won a title. Moskaev won a title. Ruiz won a title. And Rockman won a title. And he never won a title. That was I would say, Jack, since I followed boxing, I was probably more frustrated at David Tua than any other fighter. I just couldn't imagine having that. If I said to you, Jack, we have a guy who he had dynamite in both hands, and you could drop a car on him and he'll keep walking. You have to think, he's got to be a champ one day, but he just didn't. He didn't have the motor, and that's a big thing in a physical sport. And the other thing we were talking about regarding the old guys, Jack, here's another argument. In 1940, 160 pounds was still 160 pounds. Middleweights still have to make 160. Today, in the heavyweight division, I mean, look, Ali was considered a big heavyweight during his time. He was one of the bigger heavyweights, actually. Today, he'd be little.
Yeah, but Ali late in his career, like he'd weigh about 224 for the Thriller Manila. Thereabouts. And that's not, even by today, that's not small today. It's not small. Okay?
He'd still be giving up 45 pounds to Tyson Fury and about 30 to Joshua.
Fury weighs such an extra amount. And look what Usyk weighed what, like 221, and look what he did. With Fury, he was punching him pillar to post in 1 round. Yeah, you know what it is, I think, Frank, and I think you're guilty of this. You're brainwashed by all these divisions because you might say, oh, this guy, he can't move up 2, 3 weight divisions. That's too much. These are manufactured divisions, Frank. When we had the 8 weight divisions, a guy would move up from 112 to 118, flyweight to bantamweight. He wasn't moving up 2 weight divisions. It's not a massive accomplishment. You move up from flyweight to bantamweight. But now even guys move up from 118 to 126. They got the
That's still a pretty big percentage, though, Jack.
Yeah, but fighting Harada would do it. Other fighters did. Look at Emil Griffith. He moved up from 147 to 160. There was the junior middleweight title meant nothing at the time. And Carlos Ortiz told me when he held the junior welterweight title, it didn't mean a thing to him. The lightweight title, that was the title that meant something to him. The junior welterweight didn't. And Dick Tiger moved from middleweight to light heavyweight, no super middleweight in between. But today you'd be saying, oh, it's too big a jump, 2 weight divisions.
I wouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, you've been saying it all along.
No, I would not.
As high as you have been on Crawford, and you have been.
Jack, he went up 20 pounds, basically. How many weight classes? 20 pounds is a lot.
I don't want him to move up all these weight divisions. Come on. I mean, Frank, I don't want to hear these weight divisions.
Jack, he turned out to be even greater than I thought.
Think of the big fight that's coming up, Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. The fight itself, to me, forget belts, this and that. I'm interested in the fight itself. But what we're hearing, oh, it's for all the belts. Who cares? It's junior welterweight. It's not even, it's like making the junior varsity of your school. You make the team the junior varsity, and you think you're the ultimate player. I mean, come on.
Are you still picking Lopez?
I'm partial. Sometimes you're partial. Look, Frank, let me put it this way.
I'm never like that. I'm objective all the time.
You used to work out at Smoking Joe Frazier's gym, okay? And if Joe was sitting there and they asked you, Frank, who would have won on their best night? Ali against Joe, both of them well, you really believe Joe would have beaten Ali at Ali's best night. No, if they would have said, who would have won between Joe and Foreman on their best nights, and Joe is looking at you, and he feels Joe
would answer that
Foreman.
Question for me.
Yeah, you're right. Not good examples, okay? What about if Kenny Norton was with you, your buddy, so on, and you were asked who'd win between Kenny and Lyle? You would hem and haw a little bit. You wouldn't be so upfront. You would you would beat around the bush.
On my ESPN radio show, 1490 in 2000, when Norton was doing his book tour, because his book just came out, I asked him who hit harder between Foreman and Shavers, and he said, next question. He wouldn't answer it.
I got to tell you, funny, one of my least favorite fighters, believe it or not, was Ken Norton. I was never a big Norton fan. Because I thought he was an arrogant guy, a very arrogant guy. Now I'm at Las Vegas with this group. I'm involved with the American Association of Professional Ringside Physicians. He's a guest speaker, but this is late in life for Norton, where he can get up and walk a little, but he was more comfortable in the wheelchair than getting up and walking. And myself, another doctor who we had on the show, Dr. Michael Schwartz, Norton's wife, and myself were there getting in a conversation, and I think Ed Brophy, it may have been Ed Brophy, not Michael Schwartz. And all of a sudden, we're chatting, and Norton's wife wanted to do something. She said, why don't you take Ken around? And I'm thinking, this is the guy I can't stand. But, I took him around, and then I got to like the guy. I met him at the Sugar Ray Robinson tribute dinner it was the night after Tyson fought Carl Williams. That was a Friday night. It was a fine night. It was July of 89.
And I was never a big Norton fan, but I met him and we hung out a little bit that night. And he really was a nice guy. And then when I had him on the radio show, he was a pretty nice guy. And I think I told you this before. He said, because I asked him about the 3 15-round title fights that he had with Ali, Jimmy Young, and Holmes. And he said the one that I was the least confident that I was going to get the decision is the one I got the decision in. And he said he thought that Jimmy Young was going to get the decision in that fight, where he said he was certain that he beat Holmes and he beat Ali when they fought. And I kind of thought that was interesting. But then again, it's easy to say that when you won the fight.
No, it's revisionist thinking, because I remember after the Holmes fight, he says, I had some doubt whether I won this one. He said the third Ali fight, I knew I won that one. That's the one he wanted to win the most, the third Ali fight, because Norton, to his credit, knew that fight against Ali was for the legitimate world heavyweight championship. Norton, I hate to say this, was a manufactured champion, the way he won the title, like most champions are today.
Right, Norton's 0-3 in title fights.
He was manufactured, so he felt he really earned it. That would have been his one crowning moment that was taken away from him. So he wasn't. I thought Norton edged the third Ali fight barely. You think the other way, but it certainly wasn't a robbery the way it.
No, not either way. No.
But let me tell you what bothered me about Norton. A perceived arrogance. For example, after he knocks out Duane Bobick, he says Bobick is a damn good fighter. He could have gotten knocked out at any time. It just happened to be at 58 seconds of the first round. Like a backhanded whatever. He didn't mean it as a dig at Bobick. It was arrogance. And now when Norton was riding high, after he was knocked out by Foreman after beating Quarry, I remember Norton being quoted saying, how do you figure boxing? He's saying, he's talking about the round robin. He's saying, I beat Ali 3 times. Ali owned Foreman and Foreman beat me. Now he changed his terminology. Why didn't he say Foreman annihilated me? Then I would have respected that. Not, Ali owned Foreman and Foreman beat me. I mean, give me a break. And I beat Ali 3 times. He didn't win the second fight, I'll tell you. That one was a close one. All 3 were close fights in my view.
And I thought all 3 were scored correctly, to be honest. And I've said that countless times.
Yeah, being at Yankee Stadium for the third one, I will say this. When the final bell rang, there was tremendous uncertainty on my part who would get the decision, and the people around me too. We were upstairs, in all fairness.
Jack, I was there too, and I remember the same thing. And I was scared. I was scared that night because of all the violence that was going outside.
This sounds crazy. I just don't remember the violence part of it.
Jack, outside of the stadium. That was during the strike, right?
Yeah, but I just don't remember feeling in danger. You have a recollection of that particular thing. I don't. I remember going with my friends, being in the stadium. Had I known there'd be all that potential violence, I probably wouldn't have gone to the fight.
I just remember I kept walking fast. I was with my uncle, my father, and my cousin, and I just remember we just kept walking fast and didn't look anybody in the eye. I'm trying to think. I was like probably 17 back then. Or whatever, 80, that was 76. Yeah, I was probably 17. And
the one time outside in the arena I would have fought to the life was for the fight of the century. I had my Ali Frazier ticket, zipper jacket. If anyone jumped me, man, oh man, they would have had to fight of their life to get that ticket off. I mean, that was the one time. Normally I'd say, here, take my money, take this. I'm not going to risk whatever, but if they would have held a gun to me, I would have swiped at them. It would have been.
I would have been the same way, Jack. And I remember that. I remember the city that night. You couldn't get near the stadium in a car.
I got there early. I got there very early to the Garden. I was smart, very early. To get.
Got to be one of the best childhood. It's probably my best childhood memory.
Yeah. Okay, Frank, I think that's it. Quick prediction, Texans and Steelers tonight.
Jack, you know what's on the line tonight? Steelers haven't lost a home Monday night game since 1991, and they haven't won a playoff game since 2017. The Texans are hot. I'm going to go with the Texans.
I'm going to go with the Texans 20-16, but I'm rooting for the Steelers. I want to
Why?
see them. I like Mike Tomlin a lot, and I want to see Aaron Rodgers keep it going.
Okay, fair point.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Frank.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.